friends, happy Monday and welcome to today's daily creative challenges in Adobe Illustrator. My name is Julia Masalska and I'm your host for the 2 weeks. Today is the beginning of the second week. Last week we kind of already started working on our project and it's been so amazing so far. You guys have done such an amazing job. I have looked through your projects on the challenge hashtag in our Discord, and you guys have been simply amazing. I'm so proud of you. And thanks everyone for joining in the chat. We have Paloma, we have Wade, we have Sophanias, and we have Meredith and Ruben. Cool. Hi, and Juhi is here, and Ben. Cool. If you guys are joining from YouTube, make sure to go onto be.net/live. This is where I'm going to be reading the comments and the questions, and this is where you have the chance to answer questions if you are not following, if you want to clarify something. Hi, Camilla. Good to see you. Cool. All right, guys. So let's jump right into my work screen and let's take a look at our daily creative challenge page. It's on behance.net/challenge/illustrator. Currently, we have 4 different challenges going on. We have the Premiere Pro, so for video and audio. We have one for XD. We have one for Photoshop. And this one is for Adobe Illustrator. Feel free to participate at all of them or some of them, just as much as you guys want to learn and extend your skill set. So today's challenge is going to have to do with a pattern. As you can see on our daily creative challenge page, every single day we have a new challenge unlock. So today, August 24th, challenge is design a brand pattern for an imaginary brand. Over the past week, these 5 challenges we have, or these 4 challenges in the past week, we have been working on a branding project. So in case you're just jumping into this, don't worry, every single challenge can stand by itself, but you can also feel free to check out the past challenges and submit those as well and use them for your Behance project. Create yourself some resources for the future that you can present to your client, and this is the aim for these 2 weeks. All right, and this is how our Discord channel looks like, and the link to that is right here. It's bit.ly/AI Discord. This is where we communicate, this is where we exchange our ideas, and this is where we give each other feedback and learn from each other. And this is where you can also submit your daily creative challenge. And make sure when you submit to submit it under the hashtag challenge right here on the left side. All right, my friends, let's jump right into the starter file, and you can download it here by clicking Get Started, or check out the challenge tab above the chat window. This is where you can also get access to the starter file. And this is how the starter file will look like. As you can see, I have already gave you guys some good presets to kind of get started and get this pattern for your branding going. So the aim here is that you guys create your own branding for your own imaginary or passion project. So here I have gave you guys a couple typefaces that you can feel free to use. I think Livermore is a great typeface to create any type of logos, so it can work with different kinds of branding. Here I have also Acumen Variable Concept, which is a great sans serif to use for text boxes or text on packaging and so on. So this is a really good typeface, and it's variable concept. That means that if you select this typeface, you can go into the settings up here. By the way, this is the properties panel. If you're new to Illustrator, make sure to activate it because this panel is really helpful. It will help you to have all the different settings for the specific tool that you're currently using. So right now I'm using the type tool, and here on the right side I will find all the relevant settings like the fill, the color, the opacity, and then of course character styles and typeface settings. So to activate this properties panel, you can go onto Window and activate the properties. This is what we are going to be doing. One other helpful thing that I'm using a lot is libraries. CC libraries basically help you create different folders with different assets like typefaces, colors, graphics that you can use all over the Adobe software. So if you create this library inside Illustrator, you can open it up freely right away in Photoshop or in XD or in any other software that you might be using. And you can just simply pull in the assets from your libraries. So this is a really helpful panel that I'm also using a lot. And of course we have the layers panel here, just the, you know, the most used ones that I'm kind of utilizing in my workflow. But the properties panel is definitely a go-to for everybody. Doesn't matter what you're working on, doesn't matter if you're into typeface design or into, you know, graphic design or into illustration. This properties panel is definitely a go-to. All right, so now let's get started. As you can see, I have kind of already created the patterns that we're going to be doing today. But for now, I'm going to remove those because we want to start from scratch, and some of them are locked. So by clicking command option and 2, you can unlock all the different objects. And I'm going to push this one by side because we want to use our whole artboard to create a pattern on it. So in my branding process, I have created a logo, a very very characterized logo for my branding, and it consisted of the typeface Gopher. So my brand name has a very dominant letter G, which I'm going to be using as a graphic element. Make sure to create some kind of logo or word mark for yourself. Just feel free to experiment with the typefaces that I have provided to you, and I'm sure you will be fine with that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this G to create a brand pattern. So my brand name is Glow Up, and as you can see, this G is a really great representation for my branding because it says literally glow up. So it uses the G, and also there is a certain up tendency, which it kind of is implicated by this arrow that we have going on inside the G. So in my opinion, I decided to kind of use this G to to be a brand element, but you can also use a whole word mark to create a pattern like we are going to be doing right now. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to hold shift and of course select my little G that I have already outlined. To outline the typeface, you click command shift and O. So to go back, as you can see now, this is a typeface, right? So now I can type here, blah, 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 right? But if I outline it, I'm not going to be able to type, but I'm going to be able to go into detail and modify my typeface, or, just use it not as a typeface, but more of as a vector. So right now to outline my G, I'm clicking command shift and O, and now as you can see, I'm handling the G as a vector. And you can even use this direct selection tool on the left side here. It's the little mouse symbol underneath the regular selection tool. And you can even go into the vector and you can, change the anchor points. You can modify your G, modify your typeface, just however you feel like works with your branding. So let's say your brand is really, friendly, so wants to attract more, of a friendly, family-oriented audience. Then you can maybe round some edges. So I suggest, getting rid of sharp edges like this one. And maybe here you can even, you can create your own. You can go into the vector and modify it. You convert it to a rounded shape. So just feel free to experiment, and also feel free to check out the custom type stream that we had a couple days ago. That will also help you. It's one of the challenges, and you will also find it on our challenge page right here. It's called custom type. So if you rewatch the video, you will understand what I'm talking about by, modifying a typeface. So now let's jump back into this and let's modify our letter so we can get it ready for our pattern. And for now, I'm going to increase the size just a little bit, because right now I feel like it's a little tiny and I wanted to have it a little bit larger size. So I'm clicking option shift and I'm resizing it to the side. I'm holding option shift in order to resize it to all directions, right? Because if I just resize it, first of all, it's not resizing proportionally, and second of all, it's only resizing to the top and right side. But I don't want to do that. By the way, to go back in Illustrator, you can always click Command and Z, which is my super favorite tool. Command Z is such a useful thing. Sometimes I wish I had it in real life. All right, Marwan is saying hello everyone and have a nice day. Yes, this is the beginning of the week, and I'm so happy to jump into this week with this amazing challenge for you guys. All right, so now we have this letter G by itself, right? I'm going to make it just a little smaller. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift and I'm going to turn the G to the side. By holding Shift, you are going to be able to resize it, I believe, in 45-degree angle segments. So that will help you to change the direction exactly at 45 degrees. So now we have this G going on. I'm actually going to make it just a tiny bit smaller. And now I'm going to decrease the opacity here. So I'm going to go onto my opacity settings and I'm going to go maybe, let's say, 20%. I wanted to have it pretty light so I can overlay it, as a pattern over different things, and I don't want it to be too dominant. So I think maybe even 15% will be good enough. So it's still very well legible, and I'm going to now select this G, and I'm going to make a pattern out of this. So to make a pattern, of course, you have to have your object selected, and then you go onto Object, Pattern, Make. This is how we are going to make our pattern today. And as you can see, Illustrator already gives me this default setting here, but I can still mess with the G just a little bit, and I can increase the size, decrease the size, reposition it, and then I can also decide the tile type. So right now it's set to grid. This is the default state, and I can go and set it to brick by row or brick by column or hex by column. So I think those will work pretty good for my branding. I think maybe this one, and I'm going to. You can still work on the size of your G, and here you can also determine an offset, which can also create really cool effects. And of course, you can also go above the frame, which it will create something interesting like this. But for now, I'm going to keep it simple, and I want the G to be well legible. And you can even size tile to art. Or I'm gonna go back here because I don't want it to happen. But in case you want the tile to be the exact size of your art, this is where you do it. And and here you have several settings. Move tile with art means that if I have it clicked, my tile will be also moving. So my tile has always the same distance to my art, even when I move it around. But if I unclick this, I can move around my object inside the tile, and the tile will not be affected. So that's something. And then we can select what type of copy, how many copies we want to show in the initial, in the settings of the pattern. And I think for now 5 by 5 was pretty good, and so on. So now I have my pattern created. You can zoom in and zoom out to see how this is exactly working for you, if it's working. And maybe I'm going to make it just a tiny bit larger. Okay, so now I have this pattern going on, and this is my preview for my pattern, right? The pattern is not yet made. To create the pattern, you have to click done up here. If you don't click done, if you simply go back, your pattern will not be saved. And this is not what you want. Right now, if I click done, my pattern will be saved to my swatches right here in my file. So right now I'm going to click done, and my pattern is already set. So now this object is still there, but I have already created a pattern out of this. So that means this is not actually the pattern right now. The pattern is saved to our swatches. It's one of the last, let me show it to you guys a little bit closer. It's this one. So it's one of the last swatches in your swatches panel. So now what I want to do is to use the pattern, I do need to have a certain, field that I want to fill with the pattern. So it can be an ellipse, it can be a circle that I want to fill with a pattern. So I have to simply click on the swatches while having the circle selected and select my pattern, and my pattern will fill this exact shape. I can also do it with a rectangle. So I can select the rectangle tool, and I'm creating a rectangle like this. Let's say I have some kind of advertisement going on, and I want to fill a certain area with a pattern and overlay some kind of color background. That's how you do it. That's how you basically apply the pattern to different shapes. You can also, of course, make some really fun things with it by, let's say, creating a custom shape. You can go into the pencil tool and you can create this super random blob that you can fill with your pattern. There we go. It's super, super easy. Feel free to experiment with that as well. Of course, you can also add fill color to it. So let's say I want to add fill color to this pattern. I can definitely go in and let's say I want to add a little gray here in the background. I just copy and pasted it and filled it with a different color, arrange it in the back, and now I already have some kind of, you know, interesting element going on. But for now, I want to work with a rectangle. And now, so let's say we have a rectangle already filled with this pattern. Okay. I don't know why it was showing me some weird lines in between, but let's say you already have this pattern filled with, this rectangle filled with a pattern, and now you want to resize it. So let me resize it to the side. And my, you know, as you can see, it keeps on filling the rectangle with more pattern. But if that doesn't do that to you, then you have to work on your transform settings. So you go to Object, Transform, and Scale, and this is where you will find the settings for your scaling options for you know, to have let's say a filling, or so basically it determines the way the filling behaves in your object during a resizing process. So here you have this little thing where it says Transform Patterns. So if I have that unclicked, I have the ability to resize the object and my pattern will be filled proportionally. But if I have this clicked, whenever I resize an already filled rectangle, it will resize my pattern as well. So it can be really helpful to turn this off, because this can really mess up your pattern. And you know, sometimes you do want to experiment, you know, with kind of changing the proportions of your pattern, but in most of the times I feel like it's really, really good to unclick this little selection, because now you can just simply go here and, you know, resize your rectangle. But let's say I have this rectangle and I want to make the pattern smaller. Now if I go onto Object, Transform, Scale, and click this, now if I hold Shift and drag it proportionally to the side, as you can see, my pattern will get a little bit smaller, right? Now I can unclick it again. So again, I'm going into my transform settings and I'm unclicking it. Now I can resize it again. Oops. Now I can resize it again, and the pattern stays the same size, but it fills up the whole rectangle. So keep that in mind when you're creating a pattern for something. This is how you can basically play with the pattern and with the way the pattern fills a certain shape. All right, hopefully you guys can follow so far. So now let's create something that looks more or less realistic and useful for a brand. So what I want to do is I want to create, let's say, like a booklet cover backside. So I'm going to resize this just a little bit, and I'm going to create some kind of like a mock-up where you can see, okay, this is how the pattern can be used. And for that, I'm going to create a little background. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool here, and I'm going to create a rectangle right behind my pattern. And automatically it will be filled with my pattern because I had used it earlier. But for now, I want to use some color for it. So let's say I can use this like lighter gray, or I can use a darker color. So, and then what I want to do is, right now our pattern is not visible because it's in the background layer, and our rectangle that we just created overlays the pattern. So now I want to send this rectangle back so I can see my pattern. I'm right clicking it and I'm arranging it send to back. And now you can see there is like a darker version of our pattern. And I can also resize it, make it just a little bit smaller, just like so. So this could be, let's say, something you can imagine for your branding, right? This could be some kind of like a paper that you can fill into a brochure, or a page of some kind of magazine that you have created for your branding. So now what I want to do is I want to lock the top layer with the pattern, right? So I'm clicking Command and 2, I'm locking it. And now I'm accessing the background layer, which is the dark layer. And I'm going to give it an effect. I'm going to give it a drop shadow. So it looks like almost like as if I have, you know, a little sheet of paper actually laying on a table. So I'm going to go ahead and increase this here just a little bit so it's more visible. As you can see, I can literally play around here and our shadow is being applied over here. And I can also increase the distance here. And as you can see, the shadow slowly starts to appear over here. And I want to recommend to you guys to use a really subtle drop shadow, because drop shadows can really steal away the attention away from your work, and that's not something you want. So now I have this little background shadow happening, and I want to kind of create a little background for the whole artboard. And I'm going to go into my color selection here, and I'm going, whenever I'm creating a background that's like a light gray or almost white, I never usually use white. So I'm always going for this type of color somewhere around the white area, but not actually white. You can make it a little bit more beige by going into the color here, or you can make it even, you can make it more colder gray by going back into the gray scale here. So you can even do something in between. This is what I want to do, just like so. And I'm going to right click it, arrange, send to back. And so to kind of present this pattern, this is the reason why we're creating this. I am going to copy paste this rectangle and Option Command and 2, unlock my pattern, right? And now I'm going to lock it again, Command and 2, and I'm going to select a different color for this background because I want to show that this pattern works on different backgrounds, right? So it can work on a darker color, and it can also work on a light color. So I'm clicking Command and 2 to lock it, and now I'm accessing the background, as you can see again, and I'm creating a lighter gray color. So now you can see this could be even some kind of, you know, packaging paper for your branding. And here you can see the shadow, drop shadow that I have just copy pasted seems to be very harsh on this variation, just because this background is already dark. So the contrast here is not very big. But when you're creating something that's very light, make sure that the drop shadow is very subtle. That's why I'm going to go back into my properties and change the drop shadow to, let's say, 10%. Okay, now it looks way better. So this is the way how you can present basically patterns. And now let's put our logo on top. Our logo was just a simple typeface that I have used here. It's the Gopher typeface, and I'm going to just type up Glow Up. This is the name of my brand. And this typeface right now has a setting of a tracking of 110, but I want to set it to 0 because I don't want to have too much distance between my letters in my logo. So now I'm going to click Command Shift and O, outline my logo, and now I'm going to copy it to one side, and I'm going to arrange, bring to front so that the logo is right at the top and it's not mixing up with my with none of my other objects, just like so. And then I'm going to hold Option and Shift, and I'm going to copy it to my other little page. And in this case, I'm going to make it dark. So I'm going to use the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to grab this dark color here, which it is not grabbing because the top layer right now is the pattern layer. So what I want to do is I'm just going to go in here and select it manually. It was like a charcoal gray here that I have used. So now we have this, you know, this presentation of pattern going on, and we can even make it more exciting. We can take those things, except for the background. So to deselect the background, you select everything and then hold Shift and deselect the background, right? So now I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller, holding Option Shift and making it smaller. But now you can see that the pattern stays the same. So what I want to do is click Command Option and 2, unlock everything, and now I can use my object, transform, scale. I'm going to click this, okay, and I'm going to make it way smaller and kind of copy paste it all over the page. So you kind of have this, you know, abstract image of this instead of having a specific, you know, object that you want to show. This can make it really exciting in the presentation to kind of show something like this. So now what I want to do is, you guys, you guys will have a little bit more time to kind of arrange these things. But what I want to do now is I'm going to go to File, Export, Export As, and I'm going to export it as a JPEG, right? And I'm going to use my artboard, and I'm clicking Export in RGB, that's fine. And now I'm posting this into my Discord channel. So this is where we are going to be sharing our work, guys. Make sure to post it under the challenge hashtag. And if you cannot access the Discord channel from the link in the above the chat, make sure to use this link here, bit.ly/AI-discord. Okay, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this so far, and hopefully this was easy to understand. Jerry Singh looks really good. Thank you so much. Chris is saying glam up. Yes. I have to change that. But anyways, guys, hopefully you guys are going to be able to submit your daily creative challenge. Make sure to work on your branding, and we want to create an amazing project by the end of this week. So I'm looking forward to see your designs, and I'll see you tomorrow at the same time, same place. Bye bye.